Hi there everyone. In this video I'm going to be going over question 3.6 with you, which you completed on the recent assessment. Okay, so let's share my screen and we'll get started. So this is a question that we're looking at today. The examiner has asked you to suggest how the sea defences shown in figure 11 help to protect the coastline, and it's worth 4 marks. Now, what you need to do is study the figure, identify which engineering strategies have been used, and then explain how they work. Now, in relation to engineering strategies, for your exam, you need to know the 2 different categories of engineering strategies, which are hard engineering strategies and soft engineering strategies. For each, you need to know what they look like, how to describe them. You need to know the advantages and the disadvantages of each, and you also need to know how each of those engineering strategies work. Okay, so for this question here, you can see that along this coastline, hard engineering strategies have been used. This is where a man-made barrier is built along the coastline to protect it from erosion. Now you'll notice that only some parts of the coastlines of the UK are actually protected through hard engineering strategies. This is because they are usually quite expensive, and so we need to weigh up the value of the land behind the defences and consider whether it's actually worth protecting that area. Now usually if there's a dense population, if there's lots of settlements and businesses, then you'll usually find hard engineering strategies, as it's worth spending a little bit extra money for engineering strategies that will last and will work. Okay, so if we look at this photograph here, we can see that 2 engineering strategies have been used. Both of them are hard engineering. So a man-made barrier has been built. So we have rock armour here along the beach, and behind it is a curved sea wall. Okay, so the examiners will be considering the quality of your response for this question on a levelled basis. So to achieve 1 to 2 marks, you would write a response which shows a limited understanding of how these engineering strategies work in protecting the coastline. Okay, you may not apply your knowledge to the coastline in the photograph. Okay, so you might mention an engineering strategy which isn't present in that photograph. Okay, to achieve 3 to 4 marks, you want to demonstrate a clear understanding of how they protect the coastline. So you have clearly understood the question, what the examiner wants from you, and you've written an appropriate response, and you have applied your knowledge to that settlement in the photograph. Okay. You are not awarded any marks for simply identifying the sea defences. So if I wrote, I can see rock armour, you cannot be awarded a mark for that. So let's have a look at some student responses. Now what I want you to think about is what's wrong with each of the following answers. Okay, why can't these responses achieve any marks according to the mark scheme? So let's have a look at letter A. So this student has written rock armour has been built along the coast in the photograph. There is also a sea wall. Student example B has written sea defences protect coastal towns from erosion. And student example C has written a sea wall is effective, but it is expensive, and some people may think it is ugly. It does, however, create a walkway for locals and visitors. Now, what I'd like you to do is pause this video now and either write down or just simply think about the reasons why these responses could not be awarded any marks. I just want to stress they are examples, which I have written. They're not students' individual responses. Okay, so pause me now and think about why we can't award these sentences any marks. Okay. Okay, so the answers. Right, let's move that over a little bit so you can see. Right, so for the first one, what this student has done is they have simply stated what they can see in the photograph. So if the command word was identify the engineering strategies in the photograph and it was worth 1 mark, then this type of thing would be appropriate. You could write down rock armor for 1 mark. However, because the command word is suggest, you need to tell me how those engineering strategies are protecting the coast. So this student has named the engineering strategies used, but they haven't explained how they work. So they haven't completed the question in the right way. So student letter B, okay. This student knows that sea defences protect coastal areas from erosion, but they haven't applied this knowledge to what they see in the photograph. Okay. So again, it can't be awarded any marks. Again, we need to know how the engineering strategies protect the coastline from erosion. And C, this student hasn't told the examiner how the sea defences work. They simply stated the advantages and disadvantages of one of the engineering strategies used. Okay, now sometimes if you're in a bit of a rush in the exam, it's quite easy to misinterpret the meaning of questions. So I'd advise take your time, read the questions carefully, and really try and get to grips with what the examiner is asking of you. Okay, so what you could have written. Okay, so as we know, you've got 2 types of engineering strategies in the photograph. You could have first of all commented on the curved sea wall. Let's move you guys there. Okay, so curved sea walls work by reflecting the energy of the waves back out to sea. So the waves will roll in, collide with the wall, and then they roll back out to sea. Okay, therefore they are preventing that coastline from being eroded. They also prevent coastal floods in some areas, particularly on the southwest coast where the waves have a very large factor across the Atlantic Ocean. We can have quite destructive waves approaching the coastline in those areas. And second of all, the rock armour absorbs the energy of the waves, reducing the impact of the coast. So the waves will rush up the beach, they'll break, crashing on the boulders. In doing so, they'll lose their energy, leaving the cliff unharmed. Okay. They can also encourage the build-up of a beach. So as there are gaps between the boulders, sediment can become trapped between those gaps, meaning that the natural barrier, which is the beach, will build up over time, which will again reduce the impact of the waves of this coastline. Okay. So an example which you have studied. Now, let's put you guys over there. So as part of the coast unit, you need to know an example of a coastline which has been protected. So we have taught to you Lyme Regis, about Lyme Regis in the UK, which is in the county of Dorset. This is the Jurassic coastline within along the southern coastline of the UK. Okay, so it's here. Now, along this coastline, there have been 4 phases of engineering, okay, which you can read about in the textbook. Now, the ones that the strategies used I want to talk about today are the ones in the photographs here. So as you can see in this top left photograph, we've got Mr. D, Mr. Whitaker there, who is stood on this very long seawall which goes around this cliff face here. Okay, this is a relatively new engineering strategy that has been put in place in Lyme Regis in the last few years. And you can also see in this photograph the waves being reflected back to sea. So they roll in, hit the wall, and then they rush back out, leaving this cliff face unscathed. Okay, you can also see in this photograph that they've used rock armour along the coastline in Lyme Regis, which has been put in place in front of some of the seawalls closer towards the town. There's also soft engineering strategies that have been used here, such as beach nourishment. However, I won't be going over that in this video. Okay, so I hope this has helped your understanding of engineering strategies. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope that it will help you with your upcoming assessment. Okay, thanks. Bye now.